Time for the Storm Tracker. Storm Tracker time, where we hit the biggest rumors of the offseason for the Carolina Hurricanes. Dennis, what rumor are we addressing today?
So it's not a fun one if you're a Carolina Hurricanes fan. There's a chance that the Carolina Hurricanes might trade the negotiating rights of Jake Guentzel to another team. That is a real thing. And this is something that you can do in the NHL. In the NHL, if a player is a pending free agent, for example, we saw this a couple of seasons ago when Tony DeAngelo was with the Carolina Hurricanes the first time that he was here back in 2021. That offseason, because he was only on a one-year contract, they traded his negotiating rights to the Philadelphia Flyers, who signed him to a contract extension. Canes got picks back for Tony DeAngelo, even though they're probably going to let him walk, but Philadelphia wanted to jump the gun on everyone else. Okay, we'll trade you his rights before July 1st. You can negotiate and sign with him right now. Looks like that's a possibility for Jake Guentzel if Carolina is not able to strike a deal with him, which is a real possibility, which stinks because I want Jake Guentzel back.
Here's my thing. Why not fight to the end to get Jake Guentzel? Even like this is obviously a move that you make if you think Jake Guentzel's price is outlandishly high, or if you think it was never in your plans to keep Jake Guentzel and it was truly just a one-year all-in move. Here's where I go. Is the fourth-round pick really worth, or a mid-round pick, whatever that you get back, really worth giving up the chance? Like, why not fight to the end, selling him the dream on you and Aho, just I don't know, whatever your number is, $9 million.
Yeah.
Just do your best. Fight to the end. The only difference between you fighting to the end saying, you, Aho, Jarvis, the next 8 years together, making memories. The only thing, the difference between fighting to the end and selling the dream and not fighting to the end and sending him out somewhere now trading his rights is a mid-round pick for a team that has organizational depth and already drafts pretty well. Like, it's Jake Guentzel. Here's my thing with the Jake Guentzel whole narrative. And I feel like I've crystallized it finally. Look at the Oilers. The Oilers are not the best roster in the NHL from player one to the last player. But they're top heavy. They've got like 5 really good dudes.
Hey, you got the dude.
The dude and
like Leon Draisaitl's
I was going to say Draisaitl, like
they
they've got the top heavy. I think in the postseason that matters more. What the Carolina Panthers always do, and at least in the interactions that I've studied over the last however many years, they always choose like we want to be stronger player 1 to player 20 over let's have the best top 6. Right? It's they choose the depth over top heavy. And I'm going, listen, you're pretty good at evaluating talent. You're pretty good at finding good veterans. You're pretty good at finding good draft picks and developing them. Get the super stud top 6 players. Build around Aho, Guentzel, Jarvis, Svetch, Slavin. Like pick your super studs. And then trust yourself that you can fill out the rest of the roster, right? You don't need the best fourth line in the NHL to win in the playoffs. You don't. You can play your fourth line 6 minutes in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You can double shift your top line of defensemen, your top pairing. You don't have to have the best fourth line. I'm starting to think you need to have one of the best top lines and one of the best goaltenders. Do that. Guentzel helps that. Does he hurt your fourth line and your third pairing on defense because you got to pay him so much darn money? Yes, it does. I get that.
But that's where your organizational depth comes in. Hey,
Thank
Scott
you.
Moreau, rookie contract. Boom.
Thank you. And for a year, maybe it's a little lean, but then Nikishin comes through and like you have things to do. And by the way, if you have that super stud top line, guess what else you're going to have? Veterans going, I'd take a 1-year deal on the cheap to try to chase a ring, and you've got some studs. Like, use your advantages that you have.
The one thing you want to make sure you don't become is like the Toronto Maple Leafs, where there are like 4 guys making $10+ million. Actually, basically 4 guys making $11+ million at forward, but they got not a whole lot after that.
You have to pick
That's the
you
one
have to pick
thing.
the right guys. They have to be good enough to
there's also that too.
overcome some organizational gaps, but also the Canes have been so much better than the Maple Leafs at the identifying value in the margins.
Sure.
Finding the chat fields, the developing guys through the farm system. Like if what's the point of having a great farm system and having great organizational depth if then you go out and spend $3 million on a bunch of veterans and they're the ones that play, and all your young guys that are on all these entry-level contracts are not playing? What's the point? The point is you have those guys and they're cheap so you can go pay Guentzel.
That's the hope.
But they're not even doing that. They're going to trade away the rights.
That's a possibility. Again, the draft isn't until June 28th and 29th, so my guess is probably doesn't come until actual draft time.
That's 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
And they don't have a GM.
Well, here's Elliot Friedman, Sportsnet, talking about, all right, trading for Jake Guentzel's rights.
Carolina's let everybody know that if you want to trade for his rights for the chance to sign him, that it's possible for a mid-round pick.
A lot of teams lined up on that one.
I'm sure there's a ton of interest. I mean, you've just got to know, do you think you're going to get him?
Yeah, there's probably a lot of interest.
Well, here's the thing as well. Just because you trade for the rights to negotiate with him doesn't mean that he's going to sign with you. That's something that you get to figure out too. So it's like it's a risk thing.
But I would throw this out there. You would talk to the agent. I know that Guentzel and whoever that other team is can't talk. But the Canes can talk to both. So the Canes would make sure Jake, no one's going to trade for Guentzel's rights unless they're pretty darn confident that Guentzel is going to be willing to re-sign with them. So that would all probably be sorted out ahead of time.